peaceful. And then there is Laos, a country that wears serenity like a fragile mask. The rivers move slowly here. The monks walk in single file through morning mist. And to the traveler passing through, everything feels untouched, eternal, suspended in a kind of gentle slowness the modern world has forgotten. But look a little closer, and you begin to see the cracks beneath the calm. Behind every smile is an old survival instinct. Behind every temple, a shadow of what was lost. I have walked the roads of Laos more times than I can count, through the gold haze of Luang Prabang, the quiet back streets of Vientiane, and the mountain trails that lead nowhere but memory. The air smells of wood smoke and wet soil. There are children laughing, men playing cards, women drying rice under the sun. On the surface, it is paradise. But paradise, I have learned, is never free of ghosts. This is not a story about war or politics alone. It's a story about the strange, tender contradictions that define Laos, how beauty coexists with sorrow, how silence conceals struggle, how a nation so gentle carries the weight of so much unseen pain. For years, the outside world saw Laos as a haven, a land of elephants, monks, and slow rivers. But underneath that postcard image lies a truth both human and haunting. A country still rebuilding from a century of neglect, still searching for its place between tradition and modernity, between survival and dignity. In these next moments, I want to take you with me, through the dusty roads, the riverbanks, and the forgotten fields, to witness what most tourists never see. 15 realities hidden beneath the soft light of this land, each one revealing a little more of what Laos truly is: beautiful, resilient, wounded, and impossibly human. This is fascinating discoveries. If you find meaning in these journeys, if stories like this remind you of how vast and fragile the world can be, I invite you to subscribe, to share, and to stay. Because the world is quieter than we think, and sometimes the only way to hear its truth is to listen slowly. Number 1. The River That Remembered. The Tragedy of Vang Vieng. I began in Vang Vieng, a town that once glittered with a strange, reckless joy. On the banks of the Nam Song River, where the mountains rise like green waves, young travelers once came chasing freedom. They floated down the current in truck tires, half drunk, half alive, with the music of distant bars echoing through the cliffs. Locals called it a new kind of pilgrimage, not for the soul, but for the thrill. In those days, the river was both playground and trap. Rope swings hung from bamboo poles. Wooden slides hurled bodies into shallow water. Buckets of whiskey mixed with energy drinks passed from hand to trembling hand. Every year, more than a few never came back. They struck rocks hidden beneath the current, or drifted away under the influence of too much courage. The villagers learned to look away. Death had become part of the tourism economy. I remember walking along the river one morning. The music had stopped. The bars were shuttered. Only silence and plastic bottles remained. It was after the government finally intervened, after too many parents received phone calls from embassies. The tubing had ended. The chaos had been dismantled overnight. What remained was the same river, but it felt different, as if it had grown tired of carrying so many bodies and dreams. Today, Vang Vieng sells a new image: eco-tours, hot air balloons, yoga retreats. The mountains are still there, the water still glimmers under the same sun, but the locals who once served shots to tourists now guide them to caves and waterfalls instead. They smile when they talk about the changes, but their eyes tell another story, one of survival. The tragedy of Vang Vieng is not the deaths. It's the reminder that when money meets poverty, safety becomes negotiable. A small town learned to build an economy on the intoxication of others, and when the price became too high, it was left to pick up the pieces alone. Sometimes I think of that river at night, how it reflects the moon as if nothing ever happened. But water, like memory, never forgets. Beneath its calm surface, the ghosts still drift, young, loud, and forever chasing something they could never quite find. Number 2. The price of honor. Child marriage in the mountains. Further north, the laughter fades, and the mountains begin to close in. Here, the villages of the Hmong and Khmu people sit folded into the folds of mist and forest. There are no hotels here, no souvenir shops. Life moves with the rhythm of seasons, not schedules. I remember sitting by a fire in one of these villages. A girl, perhaps 13, maybe younger, was sewing beside her mother. When I asked if she would go to school, her mother smiled politely and said, "She will marry soon." The words were not cruel. They were simple, matter-of-fact, like saying the rain would come tomorrow. In these highlands, a girl's childhood ends early. Tradition demands it. Families arrange marriages while their daughters are still growing, sometimes to protect honor, sometimes to ease the burden of poverty. A dowry of livestock or a few $100s can mean survival for a family living on the edge. To them, it is not a sale, it is continuity. But what they call duty, the world calls loss. Loss of education, of freedom, of the fragile years when a child should dream instead of serve. Laws exist, of course. The government speaks of reform, of modern rights and awareness campaigns. Yet laws are written in Vientiane, and these villages are 1,000 mountains away. I have seen many forms of poverty in my travels, but this one hurts differently. It hides behind kindness. The weddings are beautiful. Bright woven cloth, music from bamboo flutes, laughter echoing in the hills. Yet beneath every smile is a quiet resignation. The girls rarely look up. They have learned that silence is easier than longing. Change comes slowly here. NGOs visit with leaflets and promises, but the mountains swallow their words. Until education can feed a family as reliably as marriage does, this cycle will not break. When I left that village, the girl by the fire waved goodbye. I waved back, knowing she might already belong to another life by next year. The road twisted behind me, and her face disappeared into the mist. Sometimes, progress is not about technology or wealth. Sometimes, it is simply the right to grow up before the world decides who you must be. Number 3. Trading ancestral soil. The quiet theft of land. The road from the mountains leads down into the lowlands, where the Mekong stretches wide and golden beneath the sun. Here, travelers often see only beauty. Rice fields shining like mirrors, women planting in long rows, children waving from wooden houses. But beneath that serenity, another story unfolds. One written not in tradition, but in contracts. For years, foreign investors have arrived with briefcases and blueprints, speaking the language of development. They promise jobs, growth, modernity. They point to the hills and imagine golf courses, luxury resorts, industrial parks. The government, eager for progress, nods. Papers are signed. And somewhere in the middle of it all, an old village disappears. In the southern plains of Champasak, I met a man named Kam. He showed me a photograph of his family standing before a bamboo house. The land behind it had been sold, officially for public benefit. In its place now stands a manicured lawn for tourists who come to drink imported coffee under parasols. His compensation was less than the cost of the bricks that built that house. He smiled as he spoke, the kind of smile people wear when they've run out of choices. I still walk past, he said, just to see the trees. But the trees were gone. So was the shade. Laos has 49 recognized ethnic groups, each tied to the land by stories older than any nation. For them, land is not a possession. It is memory, ancestor, and God. To lose it is to lose oneself. Yet progress demands sacrifice, and those who have least to give are asked to give the most. The new resorts rise quickly. The advertisements call them eco-friendly. Guests sip cocktails and photograph the sunset, while, just beyond the fence, villagers boil river water to drink. To outsiders, it looks like balance, tradition meeting modernity. To those who once farmed this soil, it feels like exile. I have seen it in many countries, the quiet trade of heritage for convenience. In Laos, it happens gently, almost politely, but the result is the same. A slow erasure, paved smooth for someone else's dream. The tourists will leave with memories of peace. The villagers will stay with silence, and the land will remember every footprint, even after all the names are forgotten. Number 4. The currency of silence, coffee money, and everyday corruption. In the capital, that silence takes on a different form. It hums quietly beneath the daily rhythm of engines and motorbikes, in the soft exchanges between driver and police officer at the corner of every intersection. Here, corruption is not loud or violent. It is as ordinary as morning coffee. They call it nam khafe, coffee money. A friendly term, a small transaction that smooths the day. A driver parks where he shouldn't. A motorbike forgets its signal. A policeman gestures politely. There is no anger, no accusation, only an understanding. A few bills change hands, and both men smile. Life continues. I have watched this happen dozens of times, always with the same quiet choreography. It is corruption, yes, but in Laos it is also culture. Not because people are dishonest, but because the system itself is poor. A police officer's salary can barely feed a family. A fine written in law is worth less than a bribe paid in cash. So the people adapt. They survive within the cracks of what should have been fairness. It is easy for outsiders to judge, but harder to understand. The Lao way is gentle. Harmony is prized over confrontation, and the word no is rarely spoken aloud. The coffee fee is not a rebellion against authority. It is a transaction of sympathy, an acknowledgement that everyone is struggling. Yet this quiet understanding carries a cost. When every rule becomes negotiable, justice loses its weight. A child grows up watching her father slip a note into a policeman's pocket and learns that truth can be folded too. The cycle repeats, small and steady, until it becomes invisible, part of the national rhythm, like the river's current or the temple bell at dusk. There is something tragic about how kindness and corruption coexist here, almost indistinguishable. The people are not cynical, they are weary. They have learned that in a poor country, rules bend more easily than hope. I sometimes think of that simple gesture, a folded bill, a smile, a nod, and wonder how many nations are held together by exactly this kind of quiet compromise. It keeps peace, yes, but peace built on silence is only waiting for someone to speak. Number 5. The ghosts beneath the soil, Laos and the legacy of the secret war. Drive further east, and the land begins to open again. Vast fields where farmers bend their backs beneath the same sun that has scorched this country for generations. The earth here remembers what it cannot forgive. From 1964 to 1973, bombs fell on Laos every 8 minutes, 24 hours a day. 2 million tons of ordnance, more than were dropped on Germany and Japan combined, reigned over this quiet, landlocked country during what the world calls the Secret War. It was not Laos's war. yet the sky turned against it. Half a century later, the ground is still alive with ghosts. 80 million unexploded cluster bombs remain buried beneath the soil, small enough for a child's hand, deadly enough to erase a life. In the villages of Xiang Kuang, farmers plant rice with sticks, not shovels, afraid of what lies just below. When a blast echoes in the distance, no one screams. They wait for the silence that follows. And only then do they know who will not be coming home. I once met a man named Thong near the plain of jars. He walked with a limp, his right leg gone just below the knee. He told me, softly, that he lost it while clearing weeds in his field. He didn't blame anyone. He simply said, it was still sleeping there. His son, maybe 12, listened from the doorway, eyes bright with something between fear and acceptance. The organizations that help, MAG, UXO Laos, the Halo Trust, move carefully, meter by meter, day after day. They mark the safe zones with small red flags. Progress is measured in inches. They say it may take another century before Laos is clean again. A century. How long can a people live between danger and forgiveness? What moves me most is not the tragedy, but the patience. The Lao people have learned to live gently on a land that can still kill them. They plant, they harvest, they raise their children to step lightly, as though kindness itself were a way to avoid waking the dead. Sometimes, when the sun sinks behind those scarred hills, the world glows gold, and for a moment everything looks peaceful again. But peace is deceptive here. It is not the absence of war, only its echo fading slowly into the dust. Number 6. The vanished. Silence and the disappeared. Some stories in Laos are not buried under the soil. They simply vanish into air. Ask about them, and the locals will look away. They will not lie, but they will not answer either. Silence here is not absence. It is protection. I learned that truth when I first heard the name Sombath Somphone whispered in a tea shop. He was an activist, a teacher, a man who believed that rural development could lift people from poverty without destroying their traditions. In December 2012, he was stopped by police at a checkpoint in Vientiane. There is a video, grainy, official, showing him being led away. Then the image cuts, and he is gone. That was more than a decade ago. No body, no trial, no explanation, only silence. His wife still waits, her voice calm, her hope quiet, as if refusing to betray his gentleness by shouting. Laos does not like noise. Protest is rare. Confrontation is dangerous. People have learned that survival means staying invisible. Even the forests seem to understand. Vast, dense, swallowing footsteps, whole. I've walked through them, hearing the echo of cicadas and thinking about the thousands who disappeared during war and peace alike. Some lost to the bombs, others to politics, many to poverty. It is tempting to call this fear, but that word feels too harsh. It's something softer, more resigned. The Lao people love their peace the way others love freedom. They preserve it even when it costs them truth. They will smile and serve you tea while carrying grief they cannot name. I once asked a young student in Luang Prabang what she thought about speaking freely. She looked down and said, "If a bird sings too loudly, the forest stops listening." Then she smiled, as if to apologize for the honesty that had slipped out. In Laos, disappearance is not only physical, it's spiritual. People learn to make themselves smaller, to move gently through life, to exist without drawing attention. But that quietness, that collective silence, has a beauty too. It's how a fragile nation keeps its heart from breaking completely. Sometimes I wonder whether Sombath knew this, whether he believed his voice would echo even without him. Maybe that's the tragedy and the hope of Laos, that even in disappearance, the soul refuses to vanish. Number 7. Love by law. When the heart needs permission. Love, too, is a quiet negotiation in Laos. Not the kind that fills movies or poems, but the kind that must first pass through the corridors of government buildings. I met a man once, a French teacher who had fallen in love with a woman from Savannakhet. He told me their story over Bir Lao beside the river, his hands trembling slightly as he spoke. "We needed 9 letters," he said, "and 6 signatures." He wasn't exaggerating. In Laos, foreign men who wish to marry Lao women must file stacks of paperwork, proof of income, police records, health certificates, even letters from local authorities attesting to their moral character. What was meant to protect women from exploitation has become, for many, an impossible maze. Couples wait months, sometimes years, for approval. Some give up, others leave. The lucky ones marry quietly across the border in Thailand, then return pretending nothing happened. But love does not like secrets. Many Lao women fear being seen in public with a foreign man, afraid of being judged or reported. I once saw a couple at a cafe in Luang Prabang sitting across from each other, hands resting on the same table but never touching. Between them was not shame. It was caution. In a nation where culture prizes modesty and family honor, love is not rebellion, but restraint. The love laws, as they are half-jokingly called, reflect an older fear, that too much openness will erode the fragile fabric of identity. It is the same fear that governs so much of Lao life, that change, no matter how kind, might arrive too quickly and take too much. Still, beneath the bureaucracy, tenderness endures. I've seen weddings where the groom bows lower than his bride, where families share food beneath flickering lanterns, where laughter echoes against old wooden walls. Love finds its way, even when surrounded by rules. Perhaps that's what makes it sacred here, the patience it requires. In a world that celebrates passion and speed, Laos reminds us that love can also be a form of endurance, a slow and steady act of faith. And maybe that's the most Lao thing of all, to move carefully, to love quietly, and to let the heart speak only when it knows it will be heard. Number 8. The shared bottle. A nation that drinks to remember. Evening falls slowly in Laos. The light softens over the rice paddies, and from every village the sound of laughter drifts up like smoke. Beneath that calm, another ritual begins, one that has bound this country together for generations: drinking. In Laos, alcohol is not escape. It is communion, a sign of friendship, of respect, of belonging. No meal is complete without it, no gathering too small for a toast. They drink Lao Lao, the rice whiskey that burns like fire and forgiveness at once. It is poured into small glasses, shared in a circle, never refused. To decline is to reject not just the drink, but the hand offering it. I have sat in many such circles, under tin roofs, beside campfires, on wooden porches by the river. The bottle makes its rounds, and with each sip, laughter grows louder, stories grow bolder. Soon, everyone is family. The walls between strangers dissolve faster than the ice in their cups. But in a country so gentle, even warmth has its dangers. Laos ranks among the highest alcohol consumers per capita in Southeast Asia. What begins as community can slip easily into dependence. For many men, the bottle becomes a way to quiet what they cannot speak. The weight of debt, of lost land, of unspoken grief. I once watched an old man pour Lao Lao over the earth before drinking, whispering a blessing for the spirits of his ancestors. He said it keeps them close. Perhaps it does. Yet I couldn't help noticing the tiredness in his eyes, the kind that comes when rituals outlive their joy. For the young, drinking is rebellion. For the old, it's tradition. Between the two lies a kind of loneliness only shared cups can bridge. And still they raise their glasses, night after night, chasing the warmth that makes them feel connected. To each other, to the past, to the idea that life, no matter how hard, is meant to be shared. When the last bottle empties and the laughter fades, a deep hush returns. Crickets sing. The moonlight spills over the Mekong. And in that stillness, I think I finally understand why they drink. Not to forget, but to remember together, one glass at a time. Number 9. The holy distance. Monks, women, and the fragile lines of faith. At dawn, the streets are washed clean again. Barefoot monks in saffron robes walk in single file, their bowls glinting faintly in the morning haze. Women kneel along the sidewalks, heads bowed, placing rice into the bowls without looking up. It is a moment of grace, quiet, ancient, and deeply human. Yet within this holiness lies a fragile tension few outsiders ever see. In Laos, as in much of Theravada Buddhism, a monk must not touch a woman. Not her hand, not her robe, not even the hem of her skirt. The rule is absolute, meant to preserve spiritual purity. But in a society where the lines between faith and daily life blur completely, the result is complicated. A young monk I once met in Luang Prabang told me he joined the monastery at 13, not out of devotion, but because his family could not afford school. Here, he said, I can learn and eat. His honesty was not shameful, only human. Monasteries, for many, are both sanctuary and safety net. But that same system often places boys in a world of strict rules they barely understand. The no-touch rule, though rooted in respect, has become symbolic of something larger, the way spirituality can isolate as much as it uplifts. Women, who form the backbone of Lao families, carry faith in different ways. They wake before dawn, they prepare the offerings, they sustain the rituals, yet they remain on the margins of the sacred space, invisible in the very devotion they uphold. Once, during almsgiving, an elderly woman accidentally brushed the arm of a young monk. He froze, not in anger, but in terror. She apologized again and again, almost in tears. The boy only nodded, unsure whether forgiveness was his to give. Religion here is not performance. It is breath, rhythm, structure. It holds the nation together. But even within its beauty, you can feel the quiet ache of separation, a reverence that sometimes forgets compassion. As the monks disappear around the corner, the city returns to motion. Vendors set up stalls. Children chase each other through the morning light. And I think of that woman's trembling hands, of the boy's uneasy eyes, and how both were trying, in their own ways, to touch something divine, but found only distance. Number 10. The Feast of Survival. Ethics, hunger, and the Lao table. By midday, the markets come alive with the scent of smoke and spice. Women in patterned skirts crouch beside baskets overflowing with herbs, fish, and meat, everything that can crawl, fly, or slither. Here, nothing goes to waste. Laos's cuisine is celebrated for its simplicity and freshness, but beneath its flavors lies a story of survival. In the remote provinces, where poverty stretches farther than roads, people eat what the forest gives. Frogs, bats, field rats, snakes, all find their way into the pot. For centuries, this wasn't a curiosity. It was necessity. When the land gives little, you learn to take what you can. I remember once being offered grilled civet near Pakse. The vendor smiled kindly and said, "Good for strength." I hesitated, and she laughed softly. To her, it was not exotic, not cruel, Simply food, the same way her ancestors had eaten. To judge her would have been to ignore the hunger that shaped her world. But times are changing. Conservationists speak of disease and extinction, of the fragile balance between human need and nature's endurance. Yet those arguments often sound distant here. When you have to feed your family tonight, the future becomes a luxury. Still, something deeper stirs beneath these choices, a cultural paradox. The same people who hunt wild animals will bow before temple statues, releasing birds or fish into the river as an act of merit. To Western eyes, it seems contradictory. To them, it is harmony, the cycle of taking and giving back, however imperfectly. There are efforts now to shift these habits. Programs teaching sustainable farming, markets promoting domestic livestock. Change is slow, but not impossible. The younger generation, more connected to the world through phones and screens, begins to ask questions their parents never could. Yet as I walked through that market, past cages of chirping crickets and coils of river eel, I couldn't help but feel admiration, not judgment. This is a people who have survived everything, war, hunger, isolation, and still find beauty in the act of cooking, sharing, and eating together. Laos teaches that morality, like appetite, is shaped by circumstance. In a world of scarcity, even survival can be an act of grace. Number 11. The language of restraint, love, modesty, and the unspoken. In Laos, affection is a private language. You rarely see couples holding hands, never a kiss on the street. Even among the young, love hides behind glances and gestures too subtle for the foreign eye to catch. Public displays of intimacy are considered impolite, not because people here lack passion, but because dignity matters more than expression. Once, in a small cafe by the Mekong, I watched a young couple sit across from each other in silence. Their knees nearly touched, but their hands stayed still on the table. The girl laughed softly, covering her mouth. The boy looked down, smiling. It was all there: tenderness, comfort, affection, but contained like a secret flame. Laos is a country that values quiet grace. The culture teaches that restraint is strength, that modesty is a form of beauty. To show too much emotion in public is to make others uncomfortable, to disturb the delicate balance of harmony. And so people learn to love in whispers. Foreigners often misread this as repression, but they are mistaken. In truth, the Lao way protects something sacred, the belief that love belongs to the heart, not the spectacle. Here, relationships grow slowly, rooted in loyalty and patience. A touch of the hand in private can mean more than a dozen embraces in public. Yet, there is another side to this silence. Some emotions are never spoken at all. In marriages arranged by family or relationships bound by duty, affection becomes a duty too. Words like "I love you" are seldom heard, replaced instead by gestures, a bowl of soup placed quietly, a mosquito net tucked in before sleep. In a world where modernity blurs the lines between modesty and openness, Laos stands almost defiant, preserving an old rhythm where love is not performed but lived. As the sun sets, the streets grow quieter. Couples walk side by side, their shadows touching though their hands do not. There is a beauty in that restraint, a serenity born not from coldness but from care. And perhaps that is the essence of Laos itself. A country that believes the deepest emotions should be felt, not displayed, held close, not broadcast, whispered, not shouted. Number 12. When the city sleeps, the stillness of Vientiane. Night descends gently in Laos. Cities dim early here. The glow of lanterns replaces neon, and the hum of conversation softens as if the country itself prefers to whisper after dark. In Vientiane, the capital, you can walk for blocks beneath quiet streetlights and hear almost nothing, just the echo of your own footsteps beside the river. This stillness surprises many visitors. They call Vientiane dull, lifeless even, compared to the neon storms of Bangkok or the sleepless rush of Hanoi. But for the Lao, this calm is not boredom. It is preservation. The bars close by midnight, the streets empty soon after. Life here chooses peace over excitement. It's a kind of discipline, or maybe just wisdom born of fatigue. Still, there are moments when the stillness cracks. Once a year during Pai Mai, the Lao New Year, the entire country erupts into laughter, water, and chaos. Buckets fly through the air. Strangers soak each other from passing trucks. The same people who whisper in temples now shout in the streets. Music blares from every corner, and for 3 days, the gentle nation becomes a battlefield of joy. I remember standing in Luang Prabang during one of these festivals. A grandmother poured water over my head, smiling through her wrinkles. "It washes away the year," she said. And just like that, 1,000 years of quiet found its release in laughter. But even joy needs boundaries. In the past, these celebrations grew wild. Accidents, fights, even deaths. The government eventually stepped in, regulating the madness, reminding people that purity, not indulgence, was the spirit of the holiday. The rules returned, and with them, the quiet. This rhythm of restraint and release defines Laos more than any monument or statistic. The people here have mastered the art of balance between chaos and calm, laughter and prayer, indulgence and patience. I used to think silence was emptiness, but Laos taught me otherwise. Silence here is a kind of strength, a decision to stay soft in a hard world. When the city finally sleeps and the Mekong turns black under the stars, there's a peace that feels almost sacred. You realize that nothing is missing. The world is simply resting. And yet, beneath that peace, something heavier lingers, the weight of what is missing. Education, opportunity, a chance to dream beyond survival. In the villages far from Vientiane's golden temples, the idea of a university is as distant as the moon. In Laos, school is free in name, but not in practice. Uniforms, textbooks, travel. These small costs are enough to end a child's education before it truly begins. Many families cannot afford even the price of the bus ride to the nearest high school. And so children stay home, helping in the fields, tending siblings, inheriting the quiet acceptance their parents learned before them. Once, in a small school near Atapu, I met a teacher who had been there for 30 years. His classroom was a wooden hut with holes in the walls and a chalkboard so faded it looked like fog. There were no computers, no internet, just the sound of cicadas and the scratch of pencils on paper. "They want to learn," he said, looking at his students. "But learning doesn't feed you." He wasn't bitter, only tired. The older children would soon leave for Thailand to work in factories, sending money home in crumpled envelopes. Their parents would call it success. But for the teacher, every departure was a small loss, another dream traded for survival. In Vientiane, the universities are bright, filled with ambition. But even there, the distance between rich and poor stretches wide. Education, like everything else, is shaped by geography and inheritance. To be born in the capital is to live in tomorrow. To be born in the mountains is to live in yesterday. And yet, even here, hope persists. I met a girl once, walking 2 hours each way to school through fields and rain. When I asked why she didn't stay home, she smiled shyly. "Because I want to see the world," she said. That sentence has stayed with me, not as a statistic, but as a prayer. Laos is a small country, but its children carry vast horizons inside them. They deserve roads that lead further than survival, lessons that begin not with obedience, but with curiosity. Maybe someday, when these children grow up, they'll rebuild this land with what they've learned, not just from books, but from the quiet endurance of their parents. And perhaps then, the silence of Laos will finally find its voice.